Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me I have two ladies from the Substance Abuse Coalition. I guess that's where you're from, right? They are the new drug court coordinators here in Shenandoah County and Warren County. This is Erin Dooley, and this is Jenna Barsotti. I said it right.
Yep.
There you go. Drug courts have been talked about here for the last couple of years, and we were wondering if they were ever going to happen. And it looks like the court has finally approved them. So who wants to tell us a little bit about the history of drug courts? You're the most expert, they say. Erin put you in the hot spot. So
no worries.
Tell us what drug courts, I don't know if people really understand what a drug court does.
So a drug court is a diversion program. So instead of your typical and regular get charged, put incarcerated, often recidivize, come back, violate probation, do the whole thing over again. It is a program that is a treatment program. It's considered a specialty docket. So instead of going to incarceration, you are brought back into the community and are provided treatment and a lot of accountability as a way to integrate back into society and hopefully not recidivize.
So they're treating it more like a medical disease more than just a violation of the law, is that?
Yes. It's if you are considered qualify for drug court, the regular stuff doesn't work.
Right.
You aren't going to be successful on regular probation. So you will need something more intensive. And yes, you do need to treat that underlying disease of addiction.
Sure. So these are not for first offenders, all right? I mean, these are people that are hardcore problems that we've tried tons of stuff before and it just hasn't worked. So really, we talked about, before we started, I said, well, it costs a lot of money to do this, but what's the end result? We're going to be saving money in a sense and putting people's lives back into society, families, jobs. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when they're in the program, they have the opportunity to, be employed, or they can also do service hours if they so choose. It allows them to be, reunified with their families and, saving the county a lot more money than them being incarcerated, and it allows them to, be right back into society and, become a better person for it.
Right. When you break up families, it's an expense. Not just on the families, but on the whole system, our community in general. And nothing worse, because that's a long-term problem when there's not a person in the family, either spouse, man or woman, leaves the family due to incarceration. That's a financial expense to the government, basically. So hopefully this is a plan that'll do it. So kind of walk us through the steps how someone would even decide they were going to get into this drug court program. Because we call it court, and somehow you just think about the judge and think, but it's really, how did they come up with that name? I'm just curious why we call it a drug court, but I think it's a court that's going to put you into drug treatment. I don't know. Tell us a little bit. What do you think?
So while it is treatment heavy, it is still a court. So they still go in front of a judge. They are still directed by a judge to do everything that they do. It is part of their plea agreement.
Okay.
So anyone who's interested can be referred. But normally you go through your defense attorney, whether that's the public defender or a private one. And if you would have to fill out an application that just basically says if you are eligible. So to be eligible, you need to have a drug offense, a felony drug offense. So it needs to either be drug itself or drug related. So it would be something like stealing for your drug habit.
Okay.
Or a probation violation. So you've been on probation and you have a substance use disorder. You would also need to be a resident of the county that you are applying to.
Okay.
So that way we're putting our resources back into our own community. So anyone who would be going to the Warren County or the Shenandoah Warren Court or the Shenandoah Court would need to be a resident of those counties.
So it's kind of interesting. So what's the outcome? So people that, or say, apply for this, if they don't make it through, what happens? This is heavy incarceration. I mean, people are staring at a lot of time.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the incentive to make this work?
Yes.
Yes. So there's something called internal and external motivation. So internal motivation is really what makes it work. It's wanting it for yourself. But a lot of times people need some external motivation to get to that internal motivation.
You always say you can't make a horse drink, but you can put salt in his oats, right?
Pretty much. So we put a little bit of salt in those oats to make sure that there's a reason for them to do it. And maybe they're doing it for their family. Maybe they're doing it for something else. But eventually through treatment, they find that internal motivation to make it work.
They have to do it for themselves. I think that's what people say. If you can't buy into the program, you can't do anything for anybody else.
Right.
You have to really do it for yourself. So are we successful in these programs? They've been around for a while. So what's the history of that?
Well, we currently help out with the one in Winchester Frederick Clark, and they just recently had 6 graduates from the program, and that program has been going on for about 7 years. So we've seen, I think, about 50 graduate, which is about half of the participants that have gone through the program. Okay. So that's pretty incredible.
Right. So it's not an easy ride. It's not a freebie thing that, I go to this, I'm not going to jail. I mean, there's a lot of accountability.
Yes, there's a lot of accountability, a lot of treatment. In the beginning, they're in 9 to 12 hours of treatment a week. They come to the court every single week. They have our intensive probation. They have curfews. They have travel restrictions, work restrictions. Basically, we're up in their lives and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do until they get back on their feet and they sort of integrate it back in. But it's not easy.
People that get into this, they all get that aha moment, and they kind of maybe the 50 that you say that have graduated, they get that, and then they get into the program and they find it much better, quicker results. I would assume that's what happens. So how did you all get involved in this kind of work? I mean, this is not your normal. I'm going to go to school and be a drug coordinator in a drug court. How's that happen?
So I've been in the substance use field for about 10 years. I started out at a residential facility for treatment. Then I worked at an outpatient for treatment. Then I worked at a hospital base for treatment. And then I came to the coalition, which employs us as the recovery program coordinator. So I did events and things in the community. And I was part of the drug court team. I've been involved with the Winchester drug court for 3 years. And I just was very excited to start a new drug court, be able to bring it to a new community and sort of shape it and just change lives within.
So you got a passion for this kind of work.
I do.
Well, I think that's true in any work that you do. You really have to have a passion for it. So when you see someone making this graduation, it makes you feel like good job. So how about you?
Well, I am brand new to the whole drug court scene.
Right.
I was a 911 dispatcher right before this. So,
okay.
I got to see...
You've seen the other side.
I do see the other side, yes. But I have always had a passion for helping others and, seeing others change their lives. And so by, being a part of this drug court, it allows me to see, every single aspect since, I'm the coordinator. I coordinate everything.
Right.
But, yeah, it's going to be an incredible journey. And like Jenna, I've been able to kind of help shape this new court, being, a part of every single step that's, come to its fruition. So I think that'll be, a really cool aspect of, starting this drug court is,
right.
I was a part of its beginning. So.
Right. And then when you see those graduates start coming along, and then you see them years later. And I think that's the thing, because I think I've shared with you some of the things that my brother was. You could see years later how their lives completely change. Yeah. And how it's so easy to fall back into it. So you need that constant. So it's just, I was going to say, this thing doesn't just, you graduate and that's the end of it. So it's a lifelong treatment.
Yeah, it is a disease. So it's like any other disease that's chronic and needs daily help. And so we help them set up the things that they need to be able to be successful. But I always say one of the things is that they also know what to do when something happens. So things are going to happen in their life.
Right. Some triggers. Right.
Some triggers. And if they were to relapse, what we want is them to know what to do. So not to fall back into the pattern of recidivism and going back to the life that they had before. It would be to go back to treatment, to know that they can contact us and have those those safety nets involved in case they slip.
Right. I think it's your whole environment. It's kind of it's a disease, but it's also environmental. If you keep associating, the old saying, if you flock with turkey, it's hard to soar like the eagles when you flock with turkeys, right? I mean, and that's kind of what we're talking about. You got to change your life.
Yep.
You got to
People,
change your
places, and
life.
things.
You got to change your life. Well, it sounds like we've got a lot of work headed for both of you here in the next 6 months or so, I guess, to get things rolling. So we have a few people in the pipeline that are interested in this program.
Yes, I have 2 that I've been told by our public defender, and I haven't gotten the referrals for them yet, but they are in the works. We are looking to start July 21st, so that's coming up really soon.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to start in the beginning of August.
Wow, so you guys have got a lot of work cut out for. Well, I'm this is a program that we have followed for several years. I can remember we went over to the Board of Supervisors meeting, and Beth and them, and the chief, and they were all, we're going to get this drug court, and he was, it'll never happen, and here it is. So it takes a lot of hard work.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
Well, your work is cut out. It's just the beginning. So we want to give you as much encouragement as we can. And if you have any interest, we're going to put a link to the website where you can find out more. The Substance Abuse Coalition has a lot of information on their website about substance abuse and addiction and drug courts and stuff. So you can find out more about that, because you may be or you may have a loved one that you can encourage to change their life. Right? Thanks so much, ladies. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You.